Great to see you all. We're going to get started in just a second. We'll just make sure that we're working online. Welcome everybody who's online. Thank you for joining us. Begin in just about a minute. Oh yeah, great.
Do it. 5 minutes.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and get started? I want to make sure that we have plenty of time, and then I'll send you off so that you can go to your first breakout sessions. My name is Kelly Aramaki, and I'm the superintendent of the Bellevue School District. And I'm excited to be here with you all. And are there any folks in the room that are from Mercer Island School District? Anybody from Mercer Island, or is everybody Bellevue here? All right, so I know that we're joined by folks from Mercer Island as well. This is really great this year because we could do this in partnership with our friends from Mercer Island. And so if you're online and you are in the Mercer Island School District, I just want to welcome you also to this conversation. We're so glad to have you part of this with us this year. Kudos to the Mercer Island High School marching band again for their incredible performance in the Thanksgiving Day Parade. That was just really incredible to be able to watch that. And then I just want to say a shout out to Fred Rundle, who's the superintendent of the Mercer Island School District. He's a friend of mine, and I'm new to the superintendent position. And Fred has been a really great mentor and colleague to me. And so thank you to Mr. Rundle, the superintendent of the Mercer Island School District. I'll just start by saying, so today we're here, to talk about college. And this is, the Bellevue School District sponsored college conference, and it's such an exciting time for all of you. I have a daughter who goes to Interlake, who's a sophomore, so almost there with you, just another year out or so. And it's been funny to prepare for this because I think I'm probably a similar age to a lot of the parents in this room because of the age of our kids, and thinking about kind of my own journey to go to college has made me feel very old. So I'll just say, and I even have these notes for what I'm going to say, and I'm like, I probably should have made the font a little bit bigger because I'm like, I can barely read it. So to all you parents out there who are in the same boat as me, our kids are getting older, getting close to college, I am right there with you. And if you're feeling old like me, well, we're all in good company together. So tonight, I'm just going to kick us off by talking about my journey. I graduated from Newport High School and made my way through the Bellevue School District, went to college, and then, I'm here now as a superintendent. So I'm just going to share mainly for the students kind of the journey from graduating from a school here and then going off to college and then finding your path in your career. And then once I share my story, I'm going to share about 6 lessons that I wish I knew back when I was in your shoes. So 6 things that I wish I knew when I was a junior, kind of thinking about the future. I'm pretty sure that if I heard these 6 things when I was a junior, I wouldn't listen to any of them, but I'm going to share them with you anyways, so that you have them kind of in the back of your mind as you're navigating, planning for college and for your future. So let me start by just taking us all back to 1993, okay? 1993, if some of you remember. 1993, the top song in the country was I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. 1993, the top grossing movie was Jurassic Park 1. So the very first Jurassic Park was the top grossing movie in 1993. And it's funny because even though everybody gets killed and eaten and things like that in that movie, for some reason, people just keep going back to the island. I mean, it's just been an incredible franchise. I mean, the special effects are pretty amazing. But for those of you parents out there who watched it like I did in 1993, I mean, the first time, we see those dinosaurs when they get to the island and they walk up and there's these brachiosauruses walking on the grass. It was the most incredible thing. And so I just, anyways, it's nostalgic for me to think about it. 1993, Ariana Grande. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce her last name, but she was born in 1993. Beanie Babies were the hit. Those little tiny Beanie Babies. If some of you collected these, some of you, I guess, are a little bit younger than me. Sorry about that. Gas was $1.16. So I was just driving up here from the district office, and it's like $4.50 or something. But $1.16 was how much gas cost per gallon. And 1993 was the year that I graduated from high school at Newport High School. So that was a long time ago, but really good memories. When I was at Newport, it was such a long time ago that we had no AP classes. There might have been an AP Psych class, maybe, but I did not take it. So I was able to make it all the way through Newport with 0 AP classes. And so that should show like the kids how long ago that was. I mean, which is pretty stunning now considering how many AP classes and IB classes people are taking now in our high schools. My GPA was okay. I think I had like a 3.49 or something like that. It was okay. It wasn't like spectacular or anything. My SAT scores were not great. I don't know what the scale is right now, but back then the scale was 1600 was the perfect score. I had a friend who got a 1600. I had a whole bunch of friends who were like 1550, 1560. I think I scored something like a 1200 or a 1220 or something. My math score was better than my English score, but it wasn't anything that I was super excited about. I considered retaking the SAT, but that just felt like a whole lot of work. So I did not do that. So as a junior, everybody's applying to colleges because even back then, like at Newport, there was a college going culture. I mean, everybody knew you're going to go to college. I mean, it was something that was already in the DNA of Newport High School, and you can really see that that's grown over time in the Bellevue School District, and I know it's the same for Mercer Island. But in my junior year, I started planning for what I wanted to do for college, and neither of my parents had graduated from college, so it was kind of new for all of us. So I did what everybody did. I had my stretch school, so I really wanted to go to Stanford University, so I'm like, that's going to be my stretch. I'm going to apply there, and I feel like I've got a pretty good chance to go there. So I applied to Stanford. My middle kind of range school was Whitman College in Walla Walla. And I chose that school. I had no idea about Whitman. I had no idea where Walla Walla was. I had no idea about any of it except that my cousin had gone to Whitman College and he said, oh, you'd love it there. It's a really great school, liberal arts, great academics, blah, blah, blah. So I applied to Whitman College. And then my safety school at the time, it was a safety school. Now it's like hard to get into, but the University of Washington was kind of my backup plan. So I decided, so I applied to all 3 schools. And then just like what's going to happen with a lot of you, you then wait. And actually, I don't know if you get emails now, but back then we got these things called letters. And you would go to the mailbox every day and just hope and hope and hope. And, the friends would start calling and saying, oh, I got my letter from Stanford or whatever. And so you'd run to the mailbox and check. So for me, the friends started calling because they're like, I got a letter. One of my friends says, I got my letter from Stanford. I'm so excited. I got in. So happy. I run to the mailbox. And sure enough, I open the mailbox and there is a letter from Stanford. And I was like, oh my gosh. But at the same time, I knew it was bad news because they always say, if the letter's thin, then you probably didn't get in. And mine was pretty much transparent. I mean, you could see through the envelope. And so I opened the letter and it was, thank you for applying better luck next time. I did not get into Stanford. So I ended up using my Stanford sweatshirt as a painting sweatshirt. That's fine. I did get into the University of Washington and I got into Whitman College. But I was so taken by the idea of Whitman College because my cousin went there and it's supposed to be this, amazing liberal arts school. A lot of people go to med school after Whitman. So without having ever visited the school, without knowing anything, and I still didn't know where Walla Walla was, I decided to accept to go to Whitman, and I got a music scholarship to go, and I was so excited. I went to Whitman for a year, but somewhere in December, I called my dad from a payphone. So we didn't even have cell phones at the time. So there was a payphone right on the edge of this field called Ankeny Field. And in the dark, I'm like, Dad, I really don't like it here. Because it was, I didn't love Walla Walla at the time. And right now it's like a big wine country, but back at the time, all they had were wheat fields. It was like wheat fields. There wasn't really much to do. And I liked being in the city. I loved Seattle. I loved going to movies and shows. When you go to Whitman in 1993, 94, when you wanted to do something exciting, you went to the Tri-Cities to go to Taco Bell. It's like that was the most exciting thing to do. And the minute somebody said, I know, let's go to Taco Bell this weekend, that's when I called my dad. And I'm like, I'm out of here. So I spent the year at Whitman, packed up my stuff, didn't go back, transferred to the University of Washington. When I got to UW, which was so much better. The AB, all the food, I love to eat. So that fit me really, really well. I went through just an unbelievable kind of journey of trying to find myself. So I was pre-med at Whitman. I decided, I don't really want to do that. I applied for the music school at UW. And I did my whole audition and everything. And after I played like Beethoven something or other. It was quiet, which I thought could be a good thing. They're stunned by the beauty of my piano playing. But then one professor kind of broke the silence and said, do you own a metronome? And I thought, okay. So needless to say, they didn't let me into the music school. I ended up getting a minor in music. I then wanted to go psychology, but then I took a psych class and I really hated it. So that changed. I wanted to be a botanist. I took a botany class. I really loved that, but that didn't pan out either. I thought I'd go into business administration, but I didn't get into the business administration school. I ended up deciding I'm going to go pre-med. You know what? I do want to be a doctor. This is not just an Asian thing. Like this is what I want to do. I want to be a doctor. But then you have to volunteer. You got all these volunteer hours in order to apply for med school. I'm like, fine. So I started volunteering at Children's Hospital. And I'm cleaning all of the rooms and stuff like that. Because that's what volunteering was. It's just cleaning the sheets and stuff, which is kind of gross when I think about it. But I was walking down the hall at Children's Hospital. And I walk by this room and I just hear this screaming, and this kid is screaming, and these doctors trying to hold the kid down. And this doctor looks at me and goes, get in here. And so he tells me to come in there and hold the tubes inside the nose of this kid. And I'm like, I don't know how long I was in there, but as soon as I walked out of that room, I'm like, I do not want to be a doctor. And so after that, I'm like, forget that. I started volunteering at a Head Start classroom at the University of Washington, like a preschool for kids with disabilities, kids living in poverty. And that's when I realized that I wanted to be an educator. I was like, oh my gosh, all of that. And my senior year, I'm like, this is what I want to do. As soon as I knew that, I applied to Columbia University, got my teaching degree, my teaching master's at Columbia, came back. I started teaching here in Bellevue, became a principal after that. And then from being a principal, I became a supervisor of schools. and then came back to Bellevue. I worked in the North Shore School District in Seattle, and then long story short, I'm here as the superintendent of the Bellevue School District, and it is the greatest privilege to be in this role, serving all of you, the families, and being able to look after the kids and being able to think about the ways that we can support you. It is the dream come true of my life to do this work in education and to support all of you. And so that's kind of like my life story. You can kind of see, like, I'm in this role right now, but the journey to get here was just up and down, up and down. I changed colleges. I mean, all of that stuff. I didn't get into my dream school, none of that. And I'm still, all these years later, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and working hard to make the world a better place for other people. So here are the 6 things. There's 6, maybe there's just 5. Let's see. There's 5. I'm pretty sure I had a 6th one, but I'm going to think about it as I'm saying it. There's 5 things that I want the students to kind of hear. And like I said, I remember what it's like being a student. You kind of have to find your own path. That's what happened for me. But I'm going to tell you these things in hopes that for some of you, it might resonate with you as you think about planning for college. The first one is, it is important to be a well-rounded human being. In general, you're already well-rounded. It's the way that you're created. You've got interests, you've got passions. Some of you are into music. Some of you are into sports and things like that. It's important to be well-rounded. And so as you think about getting ready for college, as you're going through college, academics are very important. Studying is absolutely important. And it's really important that you find ways to develop your whole self. What are the things that you're passionate about? What are the things that wake you up in the morning? What are the things that make you want to go to school? And so I just want to encourage you to embrace all of the things that make you just excited to be alive. And related to that, I want you to embrace the concept of joy in your life, because if you're just working to get to the next level, to try to get into the best schools, to try to get into the best jobs, if that's your only driver, it will suck the joy out of your life. And life is hard enough as it is, and especially as we're coming out of the pandemic, joy matters. And so my encouragement as you're like going through some of the hardest years, junior year, senior year, and then going into college, is to think like, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to study hard, but I am going to prioritize joy and the things that I'm passionate about. The second thing is, the second lesson is know yourself and trust in your decision making, because for me, when I decided to go to Whitman College, it was a recommendation from my cousin, and it had a great rating. I mean, Whitman College is one of the best in our state. All of these things going for it, except that I don't like the rural wheat fields, Taco Bell in the, in the neighboring town. I didn't like that. Some people really love that. They love driving through the wheat fields and doing all that stuff, and the dust storms just gets them excited. That's not me. I like really good food. I like the Ave. I like going to the theater, like all of the city life stuff. So it's important as you're making decisions about where you go to know yourself, because everybody else is going to have lots of suggestions for you. You should try going to this place. You should think about this college in California. You should think about this. This place has got the best reputation. I think you'd be a really good fit there. All of that might be true, and I think it's good to listen to everybody. But in the end, you really got to know yourself, because you're the one who has to live with those decisions. The third thing that I want to share is just around finishing strong in high school. So, you're juniors, you're finishing this year, you're going to be seniors next year. But as you think about finishing high school, I think there's always questions about, like, what classes should I take? How many AP classes should I take? What do I need to do to prepare myself for a really great future? And what I'll say is this: you can, if you want to, take 6 or 7 AP classes. But I also want you to know that you don't have to do that to get into a great college. I think in general, if you're taking somewhere between 2 and 4 AP classes, you're going to be just fine. I mean, that is kind of a normal thing to do. In Bellevue, maybe Mercer Island as well, taking 6 or 7 AP classes in a year might be like something that people do, but you don't have to do that. And so I just want to encourage people, it's okay to take less, but to take classes that excite you. And so we have like the most amazing electives that you have, like not every school district is able to offer the things that we're able to offer in Bellevue. But if you go to Interlake taking a horticulture class, you should do that because you never know. You might become an environmental scientist in your future because you took the horticulture class when you were at Interlake High School. There are all these amazing classes, the aviation class at Sammamish, you could take a culinary class. There's so many fun classes that we offer in Bellevue, and I just want to encourage you to try stuff out. Now is the time to try out stuff and see if it's something that you might want to do in your future. Don't feel the pressure to have to take 6 or 7 AP classes unless you want to. Some people, they want to take 6 or 7 and it feels right, and that is absolutely an option for you. But I don't want you to feel pressure if that's not something that you want to do. We don't feel like that's something that you have to do. We want you to take really exciting classes. We're going to keep giving you amazing classes to choose from so that you can figure out what you're passionate about. The fourth one is about embracing failure. So as you could hear from my own life story, there's a lot of failures, and I only shared with you 1/10 of the failures. I mean, there are so many things that did not go right in my own journey. I didn't even talk about my career, and I'm not going to share all that stuff because then you're going to wonder why I have this job in the first place. But there are failures happen all the time. Like I talked about SAT. My SAT score for a general Newport High School person was really just kind of barely okay. It wasn't anything spectacular, but what I'll tell you is nobody after high school ever asks you what your SAT score is. Like when I applied for the superintendent job, they didn't say, what was your SAT score? Nobody asked you. And in a similar sort of way, your GPA does not define you. So if you didn't, I got a C- in one of my math classes. I mean, it was a total disaster. But nobody, when I applied for this job, said, what was your high school GPA? Once you get to the next level, nobody really cares. When I got my doctorate at the University of Washington, when I put on the doctoral robe and I got to walk across the stage, nobody asked me, but what was your GPA? So you work hard, you get as good a grades as you get, but if you messed up in a class or whatever, don't worry about it. Like the failures don't define you, and in most cases, they make you even better. Because there was a time when I really beat myself up about not being able to stay at Whitman, but by transferring to the UW and going through all that rigmarole of what I want to do, it was only because I was at the U that I realized that I wanted to be a teacher. So the failures, in the moment, they suck. But years later, when you look back and say, it's because of that I did this, you realize every single time your failures lead to something really incredible. You just have to get through them, figure out what you learned from it, and then move on. Every failure that I've experienced in my life has led to something so much better. In one more example I'll just share, this was not the first superintendent job that I applied for. When I left Seattle School District, before coming to Bellevue as an executive director of schools, I applied for a superintendent job. And I put together this amazing application for this school district that's kind of around here. And I sent it in and I'm like, I know I'm gonna get this job. It's perfect for me. No, it wasn't Mercer Island, I promise, wasn't. But what I'll say is they didn't even write me back. Like they didn't write me back. They didn't even say thank you for the application or wow, really interesting, but you know, maybe for a different job, different time. I got nothing back. I mean, I didn't even get the Stanford see-through letter back, nothing. And I was devastated because I had, really high beliefs in myself. But what I'll say is, because I didn't get that job, I came to Bellevue as an executive director of schools, and then I'm standing here. So you see how those things work. The failures, after time, you realize that they lead to something even greater if you're willing to learn and not get too devastated by it. The last thing is, my last sharing is this. The ultimate goal of studying and working hard and going to college, it's not about being successful. So it's not that I don't want people to be successful. I do want you to be successful. But the ultimate goal of going to college and getting a good degree is not about being successful. That's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal of going to college is also not about being happy yourself. I do want you to be happy, and your parents want you to be happy. For my own daughter, that is the highest priority for me, is to be happy. I want her to be happy. But that is also not the ultimate goal of going to college, getting a good degree, and getting a job. At least from my humble perspective, I feel like the ultimate goal for all of you is to take all of that and to be a good person, to make a difference for other people and for our planet. That has to be kind of our higher calling. I think it's the only thing that really gives me hope when I think about the future, because the world is in crisis. If you listen to the news for even 10 minutes, the world is in crisis. There's war, there's poverty, there's homelessness, there's division. The only thing that gives me hope is to think that you all will graduate from Bellevue or Mercer Island. You're going to go get great degrees. You're going to go to college. You're going to get an amazing job. And then you're going to make the world a better place. If you do stuff to make yourself happy, feels good. If you do stuff that makes other people feel happy, it is the best feeling in the entire world. And so my charge to all of you, no matter where you go, and I'm excited about whatever future and journey you decide for yourself, but I just hope that what you end up doing is going out there and making life better for somebody else and taking care of our planet. Those two things would make me feel like we have done our job here in Bellevue and in Mercer Island. So with that, for all of you who are here in person and all of you who are watching online, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for you. I mean, your whole future is ahead of you. And thank you to all the organizers of this conference for putting this together. We're excited about what you guys have in store in your future, not just for you, but for our world as well. Thank you, everybody.